Hi, Rob. Can you remember back to when the idea of dwelling in the Word was first introduced to you, and what your reaction to that was?
Hi, Simon. Yeah, well, I first read about dwelling in the Word in the Little Grove booklet, which introduced some of the themes of Partnership for Missional Church. And when I first read about it, I was very excited because it seemed like a very accessible way of using that old traditional way of reading Scripture, Lectio Divina, in a way that was accessible for a group. And I thought it was a really inspired idea. I thought of all the different ways in which it could be used with a variety of passages. In fact, we started using it in form as in our weekly staff meetings with the reading of the gospel reading for the Sunday to come. But the thing that concerned me a little bit was just how much the focus on one passage over a whole year. And I remember circling that in the Grove booklet and going, what? A whole year? It just seemed ridiculous to be having that much time on one passage, and I was a bit nervous and skeptical about that.
Yeah, and I guess we're sort of 2 years on from that moment. So now, what about the experience of living with dwelling in the Word?
The experience actually has been really positive, and spending all of last year, particularly with Luke 10, actually was remarkable. We got to know a passage really well, and it wasn't to say there wasn't some kickback. Some people didn't get it, but I think the thing that was, well, two things to say on that. One is one of the church wardens here who kind of halfway through the year, he said, you know, it's changed the whole way that I'm reading Scripture, which I thought, what a testament to using this. But also, it was the other things that we saw bubbling up in the life of the church about partnering with other people. One was about a project that was initiated with other churches in the town, with our secondary school, who came back to us and said, we'd love to have a chaplain. Can you help us with that? And that was a fantastic opportunity to partner both with other churches and with a key centre in the town, the local school. And secondly, it was as ideas for celebrating the 700th anniversary of one of our churches took shape. We had this idea to get loads of different community groups together, and at the heart of it, to get people to produce boats, the paper boats, which they'd share their experiences of living in the town and their hopes of, and suspend those from the ceiling of the church, so that we had 700 of them. It hasn't happened yet because of lockdown, but as an idea, it just seemed so fantastic. And this idea of partnering with these different groups, it gave us wonderful links with them, and that's been something that's built and grown, and it seems such far more than a coincidence to think that these things happened in a year when we were living so closely with dwelling in the Word, and with this passage from Luke 10, which was about partnering, working alongside other groups. So yeah, it was really positive. And Simon, I know that you used dwelling in the Word in worship. Would you be able to tell us just a little bit about your experience of that?
Yes, well, we were mindful, particularly being in a large parish, that what we didn't want were these spiritual practices just to be the domain of a few people. And obviously one of the ways in which we could do something to spread it a bit wider was to try it in a service, but it probably needs a good 20 minutes if you're going to do it in pairs and then in fours, with an introduction and a bit of a chance to come back. So we tried it at our kind of all-age worship service, which obviously included both youngsters and older folks in it as well. And what we found was that listening isn't as easy as we think it is. So some people latched onto it straight away and understood that the purpose of it was to hear God through Scripture. But other people really found it very hard to listen to the other person. When the report back came, they wanted to talk about what they'd seen rather than to listen to other people. But it was really worth doing, and we repeated this a few months later once we were in lockdown, and we tried it online. Now I have to say that it was not quite the full version because my ability to use breakout rooms wasn't quite as up to scratch as it could have been. But we all started in pairs, and then we heard one pair act out their conversation. But I think the real value of it is that it is quite hard for some people to come to church and be expected to play a role in the service. They're much more used to coming and receiving, and so dwelling in the Word really helps, I think, to show that it's about us as congregations as well as those who are leading the services, who need to listen to God and listen to each other, and it's a very valuable tool for that in my view.